Tara's dreadlocks are considered a curse in a prejudiced village. Her stepmother's vicious remarks cut through her, branding her locks as deadly snakes and the source of all misery. Tara's heart gets heavy with each insult, bearing the weight of rejection. But little does she realize that her voyage contains the key to unlocking a destiny far beyond her wildest expectations. Once upon a time, in the heart of a very small village, lived a girl named Tara. Tara was unlike any other girl in the village. Her dreadlocks set her apart from her peers, who made fun of her because of her hair. They would taunt her about her hair while she walked on the street, and some even went as far as believing that she was possessed. Tara's mother spared no opportunity to tell her how special she was, but it was hard for her to believe, as every other person in the village detested her because of her hair. One day, Tara was fetching some water from the village stream when a boy named Aby arrived at the stream with his friends. He was the son of a very well-known and respected man. He approached Tara and requested that she give him some water from her clay pot. His friends laughed as they waited to see her reaction. Without saying any words, Tara dipped her clay pot into the stream and offered it to Aby, who was shocked at her calm demeanor as he drank from the calabash. He found himself staring at her dreadlocks, and his friends wondered what had come over him. He handed the calabash back to her, thanking her for her kindness. All his friends opened their mouths in shock, as this was so unusual for someone who was always arrogant and rude. They laughed at him as they teased him for drinking from a cursed girl's water pot. But Aby paid no mind to them, as he could not shake the feeling that there was more to Tara than meets the eye. Tara's encounter with Aby became the subject of gossip in the village, especially when Aby became terribly ill. Many believed that Aby had been cursed by the girl with the strange hair, while others speculated that the curse which followed Tara had transferred to Aby, making him sick. Aby's father did everything within his power to restore his son's health, but as the days went by, his sickness grew worse. Tara felt terrible, thinking she was the cause of his sickness, as accusing eyes pierced through her skin when she walked the streets of the village. In that moment, Tara knew she had to do something about all that was happening. As she returned home that evening, her stepmother called her all sorts of degrading names, blaming her evil hair for all the terrible things that had been happening. She called her dreadlocks evil snakes hanging on her head, saying that if she failed to cut her hair, evil would continue to be unleashed. Tara felt terrible to hear this and began to cry. She took a sharp blade, and was about to cut her hair when her mother entered, and stopped her. Tara wept uncontrollably as she asked her mother if she was cursed. Her mother told her that her hair was a blessing and that she should not listen to what the people were saying, because she was perfect with her dreadlocks. Tara couldn't sleep. She was so worried about the rich man's son, wondering if she had a hand in his sickness. She began to whistle her favorite song, hoping to fall asleep. When she heard a sound outside her door, it was late at night, and Tara was extremely afraid. She decided to check what it was, and was confronted by the sight of a frail old woman under the tree close to her house. "You called for me," the old woman said, as goosebumps filled Tara's entire body. "What worries you, precious one?" the old woman asked. Tara, trembling out of fear, told the old woman all that had been happening. The old woman listened intently as Tara spoke. She told Tara that people fear what they cannot understand, and that her dreadlocks were not a curse but a gift to the entire village. Tara looked at the old woman in confusion as she asked what she meant by a gift. Before she could finish asking the question, the old woman disappeared into the night. Tara returned to her house unable to sleep, as she thought about all the old woman had said. She woke up the next morning to a loud noise in front of her house, and realized that a group of villagers had come to take her away. They all believed that Tara was cursed and had to be banished from their village. Tara's mother did all she could to stop them from taking her daughter away, but all her efforts proved futile. So, she decided to leave the village with her daughter. Had nowhere to go, so they wandered from one village to another. The people had never seen anyone with such hair before, and this terrified them as they wondered if Tara's hair were snakes. No one let them settle in their village, so for days, Tara and her mother slept in the dark forest as mosquitoes feasted on their delicate bodies. However, despite the fear and rejection they faced, Tara's mother never once faltered in her belief that her daughter's hair was a blessing. She reminded Tara of their ancestry of warriors and healers who had carried the same dreadlocks through the ages. "Your hair is a symbol of strength," her mother said, "and one day, it will show its true power to all." Tara clung to her mother's words, but couldn't shake off the possibility that the villagers might have been right. So, one night while her mother slept, Tara snuck out of the forest, away from her sleeping mother. It was not an easy decision for Tara, who could not stand the sight of her mother suffering for her sake. She hoped that her absence would force her mother to return to their village, back to her comfort, as she could not stand by and watch her suffer. Tara wandered from one village to another, hoping to find someone who would accept her for who she was. She faced many rejections on the way as people called her a witch and a sorceress, but she did not give up. One night, sleeping in the forest, she saw a strange figure in the distance. It was the figure of a man who moved extremely fast. Tara was terrified as she wondered how a man could move so fast. Filled with terror, she tried to run away when the strange-looking man grabbed her by her hair. Tara noticed a bright glow emanating from her dreadlocks as she watched the strange-looking man transform into a very handsome man. She was amazed and could not believe what had just happened. The young man thanked her for saving him, and asked why she was alone in the forest. Tara explained all she had been through at the hands of her people who shunned her because of her hair. The young man urged her to follow him as he could not watch her live in the forest. They walked into the village and Tara was met with curious stares, not of fear, but of wonder. The young man, who introduced himself as Toya, was the prince of the village. He explained that an evil witch had cast a spell on him, turning him into a strange being doomed to roam the forest, and only the touch of one with a pure and misunderstood heart could break the curse. Tara and her dreadlocks were the one destined to break the curse. Toya led her to his father, the king, who was a wise and kind man. He listened to Tara's story, his heart moved by the injustice she had endured. "Your hair is a gift, young Tara," he said, "and it has broken a curse that the most powerful healers could not. We welcome you as our own." Tara, for once in her life, felt accepted by a people who appreciated the power of her locks. Her mother, who never stopped looking for her whereabouts, arrived at the palace to see her daughter. Tara was so happy to see her mother, who hugged her tightly. Meanwhile, back in their village, Tara's illness worsened, and the village healer received a revelation that Tara was the only one with the power to heal the sickness. The healer informed Toya's father of the revelation, and he set out in search of Tara. After a few days, they arrived at Toya's kingdom and were shocked to find Tara living in the palace of the king. The rich man pleaded with Tara to save his son's life, and Tara, filled with compassion, agreed to heal his son, Epitome. When they arrived in their village, Tara went straight to Epitome's side, let down her dreadlocks, and placed them on Epitome's chest. Immediately, the locks glowed, and the illness vanished as Epitome regained his health. The entire village rejoiced as the people called out Tara's name in joy. But just as Tara was about to sleep, she was told that her mother was dying and needed her. Confused as to what was happening, Tara arrived at her stepmother's heart and realized that her stepmother was the one behind Epitome's encounter with Tara by the riverside. She had decided to make him extremely sick so that the entire village would point accusing fingers at Tara. Little did she know that her evil plan would lead to her own demise. She revealed that since her husband, who was Tara's father, died, she had been envious of the bond that Tara and her mother shared and decided to break it. The only way to achieve this was to make people believe that Tara was a witch and the one behind Epitome's illness. Her stepmother pleaded for forgiveness, but Tara wasted no time in forgiving her. Tara tried to use her hair to save her stepmother's life but noticed that her hair failed to glow. It was then that she heard a silent voice in her heart telling her that her stepmother's heart was still filled with so much evil towards her and that until she purged herself from such evil, Tara could not save her. Tara pleaded with her stepmother to let go of the evil, but she refused and died in her wickedness. The entire village was shaken by the revelation as they apologized to Tara for how badly they had treated her. As the days went by, Toya found himself visiting Tara's village more often. With each visit, the bond between them blossomed like a tree in full bloom. One evening, Toya and Tara decided to take a stroll to the village street. Toya spoke to her, saying that since the day she walked into his life, she had healed not only his curse but his heart. He couldn't think of anyone else to walk beside him as he led his people and asked if she would do him the honor of being his bride. Tara, filled with excitement, agreed to marry the prince, and she loved him so dearly. That was how Tara, the girl born with dreadlocks, became a queen after suffering years of rejection and discrimination. The lesson to be learned from this story is that evil has an expiry date. Do not dig a pit for others as you might just fall into it to your own destruction. Do not discriminate against others because they look different from you. Learn to be open-minded and accept others regardless of their unique attributes. Always be kind because a little act of kindness might just save a life. I hope you enjoyed the story. Subscribe and leave a comment, it helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.